Hi, this is Dylan, and I saw your message about how you're trying to integrate Desk with Zoho Creator and how you were looking for resources. And as far as I know, there are not a lot of resources out there for this kind of thing, so I thought I would just make a video showing you what you could do that's specific to your use case. In a minute, I'll cover how you actually push data from Desk into Creator, but first I just want to show you how I set this up in Creator. So I created a employees form where I'm just entering a name and whether they're an HR or support agent. So we have our agents Sarah and Mary entered in there. And then I have this rewards bonuses form. So when data gets pushed from Desk, it's going to end up going into this form. So we have the time that a ticket gets created. There's a field for that. We have a field for the support agent receiving a reward and the HR employee that's giving it to them. And these are just looking up the records that we already saved over in the employees form. And then we have this keyword. So this is just a drop down. It's not actually a lookup. And I just put in some generic ones in here. Those are the default values. And then as you can see, once we push data from Desk into here, we'll end up with something like this, where we can have a complete record over time of the reward bonuses that Agent Mary has received and who gave them to her. And I just put, these are all given by Sarah. So let me show you the script I used to tally up the amount rewarded in Creator real briefly. So I'm going to go to my dashboard and open up this reward bonuses form. So you'll notice we have this total rewards field, and every time a new reward gets added, we're just going to look up what was their last total and what is the new keyword that's chosen, and then we're going to add up the total with the new value associated with the keyword to produce our new total. So I'll show you how that's done. Click on workflow. And we want the script to be for on validate. So that means we're getting the API call from Desk, and Creator will run this script to make sure everything's okay. And then after the script is run, it'll save the record into the Creator form. So the first thing I have up here is a bunch of if conditions. This is pretty straightforward. So if the keyword equals choice 1, we're giving it a value of 3. If it's choice 2, we're giving a different value, and so on. You can set this up however you want. And then it gets a little bit more complicated down here. So there's 2 conditions, and the first one is just saying, okay, let's look in this form of the reward bonuses and see if we already have a record of this particular agent. So agent equals input agent, and then we're getting the count, so the total number of records already exist of rewards given to this agent. So if that is greater than 0, that means this agent has already received at least 1 reward, and we can look up what their total is. So the script in here is where we're looking up the total rewards they've gotten. So the last reward will be the last time a reward was submitted, we're saving the total in a field. So again, we're looking in the reward bonuses field, we're finding the agent that matches, and then we're looking in the total rewards field, and we're going to sort this by added time descending. So that just means we're finding the most recent record where this agent was given a reward. And then range from 0 to 0 just means we want only 1 record. If we didn't put that in there, this would return every record, which would get a little confusing. We only want the most recent record of how many rewards they've gotten. And then what we're doing in here is we're just saying, okay, so Desk has filled out all these other fields, but now we need to fill out this total rewards field on the Creator side. So we're going to input into that field whatever their past total was. This is past reward, which is the variable we just defined up here, plus the reward value. So that will depend on the data you're getting from Desk. So if someone makes choice 2 for the kind of reward they're giving in Desk, that'll show up in that field, which then is helping us tabulate, okay, choice 2 means we're going to add on 5 more reward right here. And then we also have to have this else condition, because if we don't add it, there can be a problem when an agent hasn't had any rewards entered yet, because what will happen is the app will say, okay, there's a null value there, and we're trying to add a number onto a null, which just makes Creator really confused. So it's just saying if someone hasn't had a reward at all, then it's just going to set their total reward value to the first reward they receive. That's all this is saying right here. So it's just going to take whatever reward value is, maybe it was choice 3, it's going to say, okay, their total rewards is just 10, that's the only reward they've received. So now I'll go show you how you set up this integration with Desk, and we're going to be doing a little bit of switching back and forth between Creator and Desk. So here I am in Desk, and I'm going to show you how to create the API call that pushes tickets from Desk into Creator. So the first thing I would do is click on Setup, and then under Automate, I would go to Workflows, and there's Workflow Rules, and we're going to create a custom function actually, but I've already created this workflow rule and the function, so I'm just going to show you what I did and sort of reverse engineer it. So I'll hit Edit here. And this is for the tickets module. I gave it a name, and I chose when this rule will execute, so every time a ticket gets created. There's other options here, so it could be when it's edited, a particular field changes, or a customer responds, etc. And then there's criteria here. So these are just some test criteria I put in. In your case, you would probably want to have some kind of custom field in here. So you'd choose one of these fields from your ticket, and it would be like reward bonus, and then make sure is not empty. And you could make it like a checkbox. You could also do something like this custom field I added for this example. So the HR employee is not empty. So every time they enter their name in, we know that they're giving out a reward, and that means we're going to push to Creator. So next you choose the action that you want to happen every time this rule is run. So normally what you do is you would hit New, and then you'd create a new custom function by clicking New right there. But I've already built this one, so let's take a look at what I did here. So I'm just going to hit Edit and edit this function. And this is the function I wrote in Deluge. So let's switch over to free flow scripting. It makes it a bit easier to look at here. All right, so I'm going to explain all the steps I took to write this function. So in order to pass this API call from Desk to Creator, this is the syntax I used. And this syntax actually is not publicly available yet. It's going to be coming out soon, but what you would have had to do with the documentation currently available is write a full Creator API call, which is a little bit of a different process, and this syntax I'm showing you today is actually a shorthand, so this process is about to get easier for everyone very soon. So we have other shorthand syntax like this already created. If you scroll down on the Deluge tasks on the left and go to web data, we have this Zoho integration, and that only shows up when you're in the free flow scripting where you can handwrite. It doesn't show up in the other version, so that's a little tricky to find. So if you drag this out, you can just create a variable name, and you can click on each one of these and it'll kind of guide you through writing your API call. So you click on service, and we have some Zoho services in here. Eventually Creator will be added to this list. So I'm going to choose CRM, and then you choose what kind of API call you're doing. So maybe you want to create records, and then it kind of guides you through what you need to send to CRM in order to create. So I'm going to delete that. Eventually, what I'm about to show you will have that kind of easy process where you can click things and it prompts you, but right now you have to do it the hard way because it hasn't been released yet. All right, so when we create a record, we're really just sending an API call with this syntax. And so when you send an API call, you always get a response. So I'm calling the variable that stores our response. And what that response will tell us is just, was the API call successful, or did it fail, and why did it fail? So that's pretty useful to know. And then we're just saying equals Zoho dot creator dot create record. And notice that the R is a capital R there. Okay, and then the next step is we're going to have to say where we want to create our record in Creator. So this part there is not really documentation for at the moment, but I'll explain how I came up with all these things right here. So the first thing we need is the application owner as a string. So this one's Zoho David 3413. And if I switch over to Creator here, and I go into this app where I'm going to put my records, if I look at the URL, you can see it's zohocreator.com/ZohoDavid3413. So I would just copy that and paste it over here. And then the next thing we need to know is the application name in Creator. And it's the same process for that. You just switch over to Creator and you go into your app and you can see the app name in your URL there. And then the last one is we need to know which form we're going to create records in. So I built this reward bonuses form, and if you want to know that, you can also just go into this live mode and it's listed right there. Or if you go into the form builder screen, you'll see it in the form properties over on the right. So I'm going to switch back over to desk here. And the last thing that you need in your API call is a map variable. And so when you create a record, what you're really saying is what is the field name that you want to fill in, and then what's going in each field. So a map variable stores like a list of items, but each item on the list is a pair. So there's a key and a value. And the key is going to be the field name in Creator, and then the value is going to be whatever we're inputting into that field in Creator. And so what I've done here is I've created a map variable at the top. I just called it map variable, you can call it anything. And I set this as a map. And then below this, I put a bunch of things into my map. And so this is the part where it gets a little bit tricky, but what I had to do was take information from desk and map it as arguments. So if you click Edit Arguments up here, then it gives you this little window. And so for the value here, you can just choose what you want to push from desk into Creator. So we wanted to know the time the ticket is created. I choose that, and then I just give it a name, time created. The ticket owner is ultimately going to refer to a support agent. I created this custom field for the HR employee and the keyword. So I chose those two custom fields, and I just gave those names over here. So that's the first thing you need to do before you can start creating all the stuff that goes into the map. So when you're done with that, hit done here. It takes you back into your script. And so all you need to remember here is that what you're putting in on the left side, you're going to need your field name in Creator, where you're creating this record. And then on the right side, you're going to need your data from desk. So now that we have all of these arguments where it's passing data from a ticket into this function, we're going to pass data from this function into Creator. So we called the created time field from desk time created. You can see it right there. And so input.time created, that's our data. And then if you look over in Creator, you're just going to want the field names over here. And the field names have to be the official ones. It can't be what you see in the live mode. So you actually need to go into edit this application, and you can click on a field, and then over on the right, you'll see the field deluge name listed in field properties. So you just copy that, and you paste it over here as a string. And notice that the creator field name is a string, so it's in quotes, and it's red, and the desk field is actually just going to be data, because we're just calling that as an input there. So we take each one of these fields from our desk ticket, we line it up with the proper field in Creator one by one, and then when we're done with all of that, we're just passing this map that contains all of that data in this one API call. And one thing I strongly recommend doing is adding in this info response here. And this will just tell you every time you send this API call what creator is telling you, like whether it went wrong and why it went wrong and that kind of thing. So when you're done, you can hit save and execute. And you'll get this little pop-up window here. So normally the script would be running from an actual ticket, but while we're testing it, it has to give us this little pop-up because we don't have a real ticket to deal with. So we're just going to input some of those things that a real ticket would have. So let's say this ticket was created on January 30th, and the agent is Sarah, and the HR employee is Mary, and the keyword is choice 1, because that's just the options I created over here for that field, and same thing in desk. When I created that custom field, I gave it the same options. So once you input all of that, hit submit. And because we added info response, this is the response that creator is giving us here. So there's a bunch of ugly stuff telling us what kind of data we're sending here. But then you see at the end it says status success. So that means this actually worked. If it says status failure, it'll give you a little error message telling you why it failed. And the first few times I did this, I actually had a problem here. And that's because the date is formatted differently in desk from how it is in creator, which is just a little confusing. So as you can see, we have this time created, and it's year-month-day. But if I switch over into creator here, I can go to the settings and scroll down, and I can choose a date format, and there's every format imaginable here. So you just want to make sure you have year, month, day with the dashes. You want to make sure that matches up with the way your date is formatted in desk. Otherwise, you'll get an error message when you try and pass a date variable. So you would hit save, and that's that. So now when I go in to access this application and I take a look at my report here, I'll see that there is one more record created, and there we go, Agent Sarah and Mary, and it was choice 1. And because this is Agent Sarah's first reward bonus, we see that she's starting at 3. But if you look at all the records of Mary, it's been adding up over time. So she has lots of rewards, but because Sarah's new, we just have 3. So I hope this was helpful for you. And if you have any other questions, please let me know. If you want to know about setting up custom fields in desk or anything else, I'd be happy to help or refer you to a support person who can. So yeah, please get back to me and let me know how this was for you and whether or not you thought this was helpful. And thanks a lot.